Have you ever heard a story so strange that even time refuses to explain it? Tonight, we travel deep into the frozen wilderness of Russia's Ural Mountains, where 9 young hikers set out on a winter expedition in 1959 and never came back. Their leader, Igor Dyatlov, was only 23, brilliant, confident, and obsessed with adventure. The group was made of students, athletes, and friends, all trained in survival. Their goal was to conquer Mount Otor, a name that the local Mansi tribes translated to mean, "Don't go there." But they did. And what they left behind still haunts investigators more than 60 years later. On January 23rd, 10 hikers began their journey. By January 28th, one of them, Yuri Yudin, fell ill and turned back. He would later become the only survivor, not by luck, but by fate. The others pressed forward through storms, deep snow, and freezing temperatures. They kept diaries, took photos, and laughed around their small campfires. Their last entry was cheerful, full of hope. But just days later, their camp would become a graveyard. When the group failed to return, rescue teams went searching. Weeks passed. Then, on February 26th, the first shocking discovery was made. Their tent was found on the slope of a mountain the locals called Kholat Shakhl, or the Mountain of the Dead. The tent was half buried in snow, but the strangest part, it had been cut open from the inside. Inside were boots, coats, food, and journals left untouched. It looked like the hikers had run for their lives, half-dressed into the blizzard. Barefoot footprints led away from the tent toward the forest. 2 bodies were found near a small fire, dressed only in underwear, their hands burned, their bodies frozen in crawling positions. 3 more were discovered between the tent and the forest, faces down in the snow, as if they had tried desperately to return. Months later, when the snow finally melted, rescuers found the remaining 4 in a nearby ravine. And that's when the mystery turned horrifying. One woman's eyes were missing. Another's tongue had been torn out. 2 had shattered ribs and crushed skulls. Yet there were no signs of struggle, no cuts, no bruises, just massive internal injuries, as if they had been hit by an invisible force. Some of their clothes carried strange traces of radiation. Others had turned a sickly orange color, and their hair looked gray. What could do this? Investigators were baffled. There were no signs of another group, no footprints besides their own, no animal tracks, no avalanche patterns, and no logical reason for them to slice open their tent and flee barefoot into minus 30 degrees. When the Soviet authorities closed the case, their final report simply read, "The hikers died due to an unknown compelling force." No one knew what that meant. But soon, theories began to spread. Some said it was a secret military experiment gone wrong, perhaps a missile test or a parachute mine explosion in the sky that panicked the group. Others pointed to strange glowing orbs seen that night by villagers miles away, claiming it was evidence of UFO activity. And then there were the more chilling possibilities. Infrasound, a low-frequency vibration caused by wind that can make people panic, hallucinate, and flee. A few even whispered of something living in those mountains, something not human, the Yeti theory. The Soviet government refused to release the full details for decades, fueling even more suspicion. Families were silenced, documents classified. The mountain itself was closed to travelers. The world moved on, but the mystery never died. Decades later, in 2019, Russia reopened the case with modern science. They said it was an avalanche, a small, delayed slide of snow. But experts again disagreed. The slope was too shallow. The tent was still standing. The injuries didn't match avalanche trauma. Even 3D computer simulations made using Hollywood animation software could not fully explain what happened that night. Yuri Yudin, the man who turned back, would spend the rest of his life haunted by questions. In his final interviews, he said, "If I had not left, I would have died with them, but I still don't know what killed my friends." And even now, more than 6 decades later, no one truly does. The Dyatlov Pass remains one of history's most terrifying mysteries. 9 lives lost to something unseen, something powerful enough to terrify trained hikers into running barefoot into a deadly storm. The snow may have buried their bodies, but not the questions they left behind. What drove them into the darkness? Was it nature, man, or something beyond our understanding? The Ural Mountains stand silent, their wind still echoing through the frozen valley, whispering secrets no human will ever hear. Some mysteries can be solved by science, others by time. But this one, the Dyatlov Pass incident, seems destined to remain forever unsolved. Because sometimes the world keeps its darkest truths buried beneath the snow.